Got it. All right. Sweet. Okay, we are live. So it says, if it's not lying to us, yes, we are live. So let me go ahead and hit record. The record button. I don't know why it brought up my English accent.
Aren't you German?
Yeah, I don't know, but England's right next door. Exactly. Well, actually, Robert, but for those that get this fun first part that I'll edit out for the podcast is I did one of those ancestry, and I'm actually just as much Scottish as I am German. So the England thing kind of falls into place. So it just comes out every once in a while.
I was surprised. I did one too. We're from Southern Louisiana, and most of ours is French background, but we had a little bit of Scottish too.
Oh, I can see that. The Scottish in me sees the Scottish in you. Well, we are live and we are recording. And so I'm so excited. So we'll go ahead and kick it off. I'm very, very excited to have my good friend and somebody I really respect a lot. I'm grateful that you got brought into my life, honestly, introduced by the North Texas region when you were expanding. And we're going to talk about a lot of things. This man leads a team of over 150 agents all over Texas. And we'll talk about that. I want to talk about expansion, and I want to share your story and how you really have a heart for dual career. I think that's super awesome. But welcome to the show, my friend, the one and only smoker broker.
Yeah, no, thank you for letting me be on. It's always a pleasure. I don't think anybody gets to deal with you isn't happy to, get to see you or talk with you. So I can't imagine anybody ever coming on being like, oh, I got to go do her show today or something.
Oh man, I got to be on Playing to Win in the second half today. Well, that's how I feel about you, because anytime I know Robert's going to be around, like I know my day is going to be better. You just have this positivity about you. And like I mentioned, again, you lead over 150 agents. You have a really interesting story, how you started your career at KW, then you went out, built your own empire, and you came back. I want to talk about K-Win with you, because you were the very first team that when Cody called me and said, who do you know, right? And I'm like, you need to meet Robert. So I want to talk about that, and I want to talk about leading other people, and I want to talk about just the market and how we help, because you're a leader, and I know you have your own talk show and all that stuff. So let's go a lot of different places, but let's start with introducing yourself for our listeners that are either watching live with us now. We've got some live listeners, and also that will listen to the podcast later. Who is Robert Meche? Tell us about you.
It's funny. I always tell everybody that it's kind of a joke how I got here. I was an executive with Foot Locker, Foot Action USA, and Just for Feet. And, I'm an accountant by birth. My father's a very big accountant. He was actually one of the top accountants in the government for a long time. And the family comes from a bunch of finance background. Well, I hated it. And Just for Feet, you don't see him anymore. And that's how I got here many years ago. So very happy for those folks throwing me out into the street.
Thank goodness, right?
I
don't see it. I don't see it for you, Robert.
Well, no, it's just a head count thing. I'm like, whatever,
Yeah.
I was young at the time, and it worked out to my advantage anyways. We had started doing some real estate investing. I've done a lot of flips in my time, and I had those jobs usually take a long time to get another one. So I kind of had some idle time, and we were joking about, what we should do. And someone said, well, you should do real estate. I'm like, oh, that's dumb. I don't know why I'd do something like that, But I did it as a joke. And I tell everybody, anytime I talk in front of a large group of people, I'm like, this is a complete accident. We weren't supposed to do this. We weren't supposed to be here, but it was a niche that fit very well. I like to think it was because I was very laid back and I had a good business background, and I wasn't the sales type, like in somebody's face. And I think that people responded to that. And I think I was more surprised than anybody that I did okay at it. I really was. I thought this was a temporary thing at best. So I started at Keller Williams. It's been almost 21 years now. And I spent 5 years there. Ironically, and I've told Gary Keller this personally, so I don't mind stating it on here, because it comes off as negative, but it's a big positive. I told him I originally left because I just thought that the training wasn't where I would want it to be. And that was because I was just psycho about my training.
You're very training. People that don't know you, you're very training based. You create your own training. Like, training is a big deal. You're a teacher. You go to all the schools. Like, that's part of who you are.
Yeah. But, I tell people too, that I'm one of those people that, how you see those things when it says, it's easy to assemble and it's like 3 steps. Well, it ain't 3 steps. It's like 37. And I'm awful at it and I'll end up breaking everything, you know. So the way I was trained is like, I need to know step by step. I need to know exactly what it is. I don't want to guess. I don't want you to assume. And I don't think anybody could have ever catered to my level. So it was never Keller's fault. So I started my own company after 5 years. And, you know, it's funny, the office that I started with in Flower Mound, that was a pretty, we didn't know it at the time, but, you know, there you had people like Ann LaCusta, Dee Dee Trosclair, you know, Russell Rhodes, Jim Striegel, the Buellers. I mean, there's some major hitters in that office. And it's funny how I eventually came back and they're in my lives again now. So we left, started an indie firm and ran it for about 15 years. I mirrored it off of me having to do it part-time when I started. You know, part-time can be frowned upon in the industry, you know, and ironically or hypocritically, I agree to some extent it should be, but not in the beginning. In the beginning, I think some people need it. And that's how I got here. And I've had hundreds of people that path has been created because of it. Yeah. You know, we just mirrored the path off of what I had to go through. And it worked out very well. You know, I was telling you, I was joking with Gary one time. I went back through, I was like Keller, it was so powerful with the technology and the tools, and they are. I think you could add everybody up and they're like 30 years behind what Keller does. And I always knew the national brand presence and, you know, popularity with Keller was there. I didn't think the connection, because it was so big, it could reach in and touch somebody and help them train. Well, I fixed that piece, at least to my liking. And when I came back into Keller 3 years ago, and I did that because of technology, you know, anybody out there, I'm not shy about it. I was doing very well. But when I have people like Open Door and Zillow and Redfin with deep, deep pockets,
oh yeah,
start to push me around, I went straight to the only person I knew who could help me push back. And that's how we got back here. You know, we got back, we dropped SWR right back into Keller Williams.
Yeah, which I love. And, you know, that's a powerful message because you had really grown a team of, you know, over 100 people, right? And yet you felt the pressure of the market. You felt these new competitors coming in the market and you're like, okay, how do I win for my people? Like you did this for your people, right?
So
which I really love.
You're right. I did. And I'm not shy about that either. This was never, a lot of people thought there was personal gain. They thought that Keller gave me all this, which anybody inside of Keller knows they didn't do that. And now they had welcome arms. And believe me, I'm thankful eternally for that. But we did it because the guys were starting to have a non-competitive advantage. And I didn't like it. You know, I was a younger executive. I was always trained when, if you see something up on the road, like it's a big accident and there's a way to get off and get around it, you should. And that's exactly what I did. And that probably became one of the better decisions in my life. You know, fast forward to today, 3 years now, that worked out to be incredibly fantastic.
You know, I work with a lot of teams, you know, and I have through the years, and I love working with top people like yourself. And what stands out for me, for you, is you lead with your heart and you lead with education. So like, how do you do that? And I love that, you know, when you were, you know, coming back to KW, which was so exciting, in the North Texas region, reached out to me and said, hey, he's got an expansion team. You know, you were doing expansion on your own, as an expansion team in Austin. Let's talk. And we launched your team here, you know, moved them over, which was really exciting. We've loved being in business with you. But how are you able to lead 150 agents in multiple states?
I think so I've been a senior instructor at Champion School of Real Estate for a long time. And, you know, I've helped author a few books here and there. And education to me was always a mix of common sense and not just book smart. I think some people don't respond very well to just reading something and being told something. And to me, I needed more detail and more personal. So there's basically 3 things that I do. And honestly, and Ben Kinney taught me this. Ben Kinney's notoriously funny for when he talks in front of somebody. And I mean, and excuse the language, but he literally says, I'll give you everything I have, but I don't give a shit because you won't do it anyways. So, you know, and he's right.
Yeah.
Most people don't. So I'll tell you three things that I do that I think really power our group. I went to a 24/7 support system where I guaranteed a 2-hour time response, no matter what. Usually it's within 5 to 10 minutes, but clearly I did not like the fact that I couldn't get help when I felt like I needed it. I've never understood how the offices close at 5 o'clock. And, it's funny. It has nothing to do with talking to you, but it is interesting. Y'all are one of the few that I know that actually have people off hours at times to help, which I think is fantastic, because that's a terrible lack that people are missing, because a lot of the business is done at night, even for the full timers, the business is done at night. So I knew that. I put two caveats in that 24/7. I put the guarantee of the 2 hours, really, like I said, 5 or 10 minutes, but I also put there's only two people that are going to answer. I'm one of them, and my director of ops is the other. And that can be very difficult for the amount of people we have. But the second thing we do that fuels it. And it's honestly, that's why I don't mind ever sharing what I think makes our group run, because it'd be hard to replicate. The second thing I did was I created a series of online tutorial systems that literally, outside of showing someone how to go to the bathroom, it shows them exactly what they need to do. Our claim is I can take somebody off the street and within 5 hours make them just as good as a normal agent in that amount of time. And I also think that a lot of my agents are probably better trained than a lot of the 5 to 10-year vets out there, because I took everything that ever happened to me and I put them into those tutorials.
Like a whole library. I love that.
It's a library of, my claim is that there shouldn't be anything that they do day to day that's not in there. And I always like to think that it was popular amongst the agents because we made it real. I didn't do the old, hi, my name's Robert, and today, with my suits and everything, I did it as if my hand was over their shoulder. And I was like, hey, look, in 2002 and 2004, these clauses and special provisions almost lost me everything. I recreated the things that I had to go through so that they would never have to deal with it, and that they always knew that there was going to be a response. And then the last thing I did, what I pretty much said, that made it policy that every document goes through me before it touches a third party.
Wow.
It is almost impossible for my guys to mess up. And it's probably one of the reasons I've never been sued in 21 years. I like to think it's because I practice by the book and I'm not a gray area type of guy.
That's commitment though, right? That's not many people can say that, because you really take total ownership of the activities your people are doing. I think,
to be fair, I make it my life. I mean, to be fair, that's what I do. I'm responsible for making sure that they have the things that they need, and I'm responsible for bringing people in. Of course, my DO, who's just awesome, he does a lot of that and replicates it too. So between the two of us, honestly, even with the amount of agents we have, we really feel that we could cater to 300 or 400, 500 agents. A lot of our top core guys help too. We'd be lost without some of them as well.
That's awesome. I love that. Okay. What's your third thing then?
The third thing was reviewing. It was reviewing.
Oh, the reviewing. Okay. That's
so
okay. Because I was writing them down.
24/7, you had the tutorials, and you had the review of documents. It was mandatory that everybody has to send their documents.
I love that. I love that so much. Okay. So where's your team now? What cities are you in?
So we have, of course, Dallas Fort Worth is the major hub, because that's just where I started from. But we have groups in Austin and San Antonio and Houston. And we are just about to announce that we're going to be in Destin here in probably another week or two.
That's exciting.
It is exciting. Well, a lot of it's because of you too. I don't think that I honestly believe that a lot of why we were there is because of your whispering to people who were asking about it. And that was a great experience. And we are talking about K-Win,
Yeah, let's talk about let's just go there, because people who don't know, K-Win is the Keller Williams Expansion Network. So shout out to Cody Gibson, who has been on this show, and it is in a previous episode. If you haven't listened to that, you should go back and listen, because Cody's story is amazing. And Cody called me one day and he said, hey, I'm going to be leading the charge for this national initiative for KWIN, which is we never want to be the ceiling on our people. And, we're super expansion friendly, as you know, in Austin. Like I always want to be in the front center.
Yeah.
However, that's not sadly the case everywhere you go. So they needed to create a solution for big thinkers like you that you could grow and never have a limit. And so KWIN became the state broker. And so when he asked me who I thought would be a great leader and somebody to go through all the steps and navigate that through, you're absolutely who came to mind. And I'm proud to say you are the very first team that transitioned to KWIN in the entire company.
Yeah,
and
it was.
That's just who you are. So let's talk about that a little bit.
Yeah, that's been an addition that I guess words aren't not enough because of all the amount of things that it's done for us. Cody has become an incredible mentor. The guy is just. He's probably you in the male side, I
My twin brother.
Honestly, there's a lot of similarities between the two, and I think extremely well of him. He mentors a lot too. He opened doors for us, which via came from you. But it never hurts to have exposure when you're, Abrams is on, looking into things, and Matt. Solosky, whatever, however you say Matt's name, director. When you got those guys looking in, you have Mark poking his head in every once in a while. Those are, and even Gary, you have those guys when you're around that's great exposure, and it helped not only for us to enter, but for us to prepare for what we were going to do. Now, KWIN, what's so outstanding about it, and Cody's driving this message across the country, or maybe in the world, as far as I'm concerned, but being a part of it and, interacting in it, this is a huge piece that Keller was missing that it has now. And honestly, I don't think enough people understand. I literally can take anywhere I want to, any part of the country, really where we are in the world. And as long as they're expansion friendly, which 90% of the Keller Williams franchise, I'm proud to say, are franchise friendly. But you're right, they're not all in there. But once
just because they don't understand, that's all.
They
don't understand. Yeah.
The argument to anybody, and even if anybody does watch this, that is one of those people, this is not a shot towards you. In no way. You do your business the way you want to. But I can tell you this, and this is the most common sense thing that nobody can argue with. Everything I bring to that market center is extra that they would not have if I wasn't there. And for me, I'll never understand that. I don't care what the excuse is. It's extra. And that's what we are able to go anywhere in the country and probably within 2 or 3 days, establish a presence where we can open shop. And I don't know of any company or brokerage that can really do that. There are others that claim to do it. There are others that allow you to do it, but it's certainly not under an umbrella like Keller Williams. This is something that would have cost me $200,000 or $300,000, 3 or 4 years ago. And it for me, it almost every day drives that I can, if I'm not doing what I think I need to be doing, I should be looking in any city that Keller's in and talking to somebody, because I know that I can do. Now, for me, it's easy because I do have a system that's transferable. Yeah. And I think for a lot of people, if you don't have a system in place, that you first have to have that, but I can pretty much move it anywhere. And the only roadblock for us is the obvious one, that we have to change our training system to the contract paperwork for the state that we're dealing with. That's the most difficult thing, but it's incredible. It's changed everything we do, everything.
That's so true. And I think one of the things, the secret sauce of KW, because there's so many companies out there, but like you said, we're like the Coca-Cola of, so yeah. like we're the one everybody tries to copy, be whatever, and we're the one. And so I love the fact that we lead in that as well. And really we're a distribution network for amazing people like you. Yeah. I can't even tell you, like this morning at 7:30, I was on a call with a team on the East Coast, on a leadership call with them for their whole team. Like that's who we are. Like we are a distribution system of amazing things. So the fact that you can grow faster, and you already have your hub set up in Dallas area, and you can go into multiple markets, because of relationships that you have with Keller Williams offices around the country. It's just amazing. And I know that Kwin's not in every state yet. So if you are listening and Kwin is not in your state, it's coming. It's coming. It's just they're prioritizing with demand. I know I had a recruit in California and Cody was like, I'm like, hey, I've got somebody for in California,
Still,
so
still working it out.
Yeah, still working it out. Exactly. So, but it's coming. And I love the fact that, and honestly, even before, back it up, before Kwin, you came back because of the tools that you could get in the hands of your people, right? So you really see the value and I love that you see that, because that's such a great, you're such a great role model of that.
Well, and I want to comment on that too, because I actually think that that's something that a lot of the Keller Williams agents and even the management, I don't think we've still embraced how powerful the tools are. We have thousands of tools, but the three that honestly were a big reason why I moved over are things like, iBuyer and Keller Williams Mortgage and the Ready to Sell program. I mean, these are things that agents should know that are extremely powerful. And it's amazing how you go into some of them and you ask them and they don't even know. I'm like, how can you not know that? They spent billions of dollars so that you understand it, use it, push somebody around. I tell people, I do this too. I use sometimes I interview inside the office here and I use these two things and I tell somebody, I'm like, hey, look, if I'm listing this and we'll just say whoever is listing this, I'm over here telling somebody, hey, I can buy your house if you want me to. I can help with your closing costs if you go through my mortgage company. It doesn't even matter if you're in my brokerage or not. I can fix your house up with 0% interest as long as you commit to selling to me, inside the next year. How in the world would anybody, you'd have to have a screw loose in your head, even if you didn't like me, you'd still go with me. That's just 3 out of 1,000 that we have,
Yeah.
And
I love that.
I did come back, and it really is a tribute to Keller adapting. They had to do that too. They had to open up an iBuyer. They had to open up mortgage companies. All these things were things that brought me back in. Because quite honestly, if those aren't there, I'm not so sure that I make that move at that point in time. Now, I will tell you, cheating wise, now that we've come back in retrospect, it is clear that the brand name meant something, and I've got few regrets in my life. I really do. But the greatest one, I told my guys till I was blue in the face that the name didn't matter, and it does. And I don't like that. It upsets me because it demeans me and the person that I am. But look, the numbers are proof in itself that it matters. It does. And it matters so much. It's incredible to me that any of the other ones are even able to make it right now.
Well, it's the validity in the marketplace, right? It's the validity in the marketplace. And again, I think another thing that's, this is not like a Keller Williams pitch at all, but this is what I do, not. Right? It just is what it is, right? But it's the validity, and it's powered by Keller Williams. And we always put the agent first, right? It's you. And look, your shirt says, if you're listening and you can't see them, it says smoker broker with fire on it, right? It's all, or your branding of your team. So it's always agent first, backed by Keller Williams. But there's something about that presence of having the number one brand in the world attached to that empire that you build. That's
something that Gary talked about with me for a little bit. It's been probably 3 years now since we had that conversation, but he adapted to he does let me run my team the way I want to, as long as I cater into most of the Keller policies, but I don't have to run it exactly like Keller. And I do have name brand recognition outside of what I do. I just put those two initials on the back end of it. And it sure is powerful to have those two things there. I think he envisions, and he's never said it before, I just believe, I think he envisions in the end, there's only a few brokerages that are run by teams of this size. The teams run it, and that there's big backers up there, and he's one of them.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. Teams are definitely a thing of the future. I mean, we love our independent. If you're hearing this and you're not on a team, don't freak out. There will always be room for you too. But it's just that I would say, even in my recruiting, Robert, if I meet 10 people, 6 of them want to meet with teams, which is very different than what it was before, because that the need for systems and leads and things like that, that it's getting higher and higher. And because you guys have built such extraordinary businesses within our business, I mean, that's what makes Keller Room so special, is that the ceiling keeps getting raised higher and higher and higher, right? And that's why I never understand. I tell people all the time, like, hey, I love all my agents, but I really work closely with my teams, right? Because it's like, we work together. We're leading
Well,
together.
It's a compliment to be an individual. You're almost an individual team in itself, because you're basically saying you're able to do it on your own, and you probably are able to do it on your own. So there's nothing wrong with being on the individual side. It's that person that really needs a few pieces connected in the beginning. Yeah, I'm biased. I think in the beginning, someone should be on a team, because there's more is better than one, and to me, it's just common sense that it's better, but there's no necessity for it. And honestly, a lot of the ones that are individual and stay that way become mega agents. So that it's not it's a compliment either way.
Well, I love that we have something for everybody. And we've also been putting more focus on the individuals and stuff, and more support for them, because they just need different leverage than a team needs, right? And
well,
so
they're lucky where they're at. They don't have anything if they're anywhere else. They don't have anything close to what they have here at Keller. Probably the most embarrassing thing at Keller is that most people, including myself, I'd have to go to number 997 of what I have available, and I'm not even sure what that is, and I know it's out there. So,
Okay, question I always ask my guests, and I want to ask you, what does playing to win look like for you, my dear?
We want to continue to grow and create an environment that someone's never scared to be in. They're never scared of real estate. The biggest issue out there with most agents is that they're fearful. They don't know. They're not going to be successful. It's a slow start. We try to get them past all of that. We try to kill the myths. We really try to instill to everyone that it does take time for a lot of people, and there's nothing wrong with people who sell 2 to 3 houses their first year. In fact, those become some of the best ones we have in the country at some point. So we encourage those people. We want them to get into their second or third year. The probability and the percentages are so much greater for someone staying as an agent if they get past that first year. And we have all these people that quit industry-wide, not just Keller, industry-wide, in the first 6 months. They haven't even, you could have put mailers out your first day and you haven't even seen the benefit of that, like, another year and a half. So they quit too early. And we try really hard to instill the belief that lead generation, there really is no time limit on it. Okay, that's really something that's become important to me. I'm going to show you 2 stories that have been so fantastic, and I've used it in every presentation I've had, because it's incredible to me. But in the last 6 months, and this is backing up that statement about lead generation is, it's timeless. And this is for the person that does the mailers and they wait 1 month after nobody calls and they're frustrated, and they wait 3 months and then they quit. This is for you. Okay. So I get calls throughout the day, and I guess it's been about 5 months now. My admins try to, filter what comes through, but they go, hey, Rob, you want to take this one? I'm like, okay. So it comes through and they're like, Robert, it's been a little while, I hope you're doing well. I wanted to talk to you about, selling a house, buying a house. We met, I can't remember where it was, but it was north, and it had this really big satellite. Well, I knew exactly what they were talking about. So I paused for a second. I go, that's been 19 years. And he's like, wow. He goes, I really thought it was like 5 or 6 years ago. I go, no, it's been 19 years since I went there. Wow. So this guy meets me at a networking, at one of the BNI groups, one of the networking groups, and gets my card. I'm probably like 80 pounds thinner on it, and he calls me 20 years later, ends up buying like an 800K house off of a networking group that has been literally 20 years. Wow. So then, if that wasn't great enough, and this hadn't happened in a long time, this is really rare for it to be like this, but I thought the point was very good. So a month later, same thing, someone calls through and they're like, hey, Robert, you should take this one. I'm like, okay. So I go through and they're like, Robert, we're finally ready. I go, for what? They were ready to list the house. I'm like, that's great. They go, we've had your magnet on our fridge for a long time. I go, that's got to be probably 16 years because I don't think I've done a magnet since then. They go, well, our daughter was born in the house and she's pretty much driving now. So that would be right. These people kept my magnet on that refrigerator all this time.
Wow.
And it was off of, that was off of a mailer. And they call me and then they end up selling a $600K house and buying a $1.2 million house. I mean, you can say what you want about your lead generation doesn't work, or you did a raffle somewhere and you don't know. And you're certainly not going to know in 6 months and maybe not even a year. And I think that is something we're really pushing these days. As far as them winning, we want them to realize their lead generation is timeless. They just have to do it.
Oh, I love that. And Gary was saying last week, he's like, are you in real estate for a year or are you in real estate for a career? Yeah. And that's like exactly what you're talking about, because you never know. It's that real estate is the long play. So, the activities you do right now, you never know when they're going to show up. And I have obviously I work with a lot of agents, and some of them will be frustrated that they're not seeing the results, or, let's talk about right now. And so right now it's October 2022 when we're filming this. And so it's pertinent. What happened in our market is that we're feeling, inflation, we're feeling all kinds of stuff, and our market changed drastically. It went from this, 100 offers on a property to no showings, right? Yeah. How are you advising people through this? How are you helping them navigate?
My love shift. It's funny. I instinctively wise, I've always tried to adjust to shift. I think it's interesting that Keller has written books over it, and it's their major push, and there are other brokerages too. But I always instinctively shift to me was via common sense. It's like, well, look, these things happen. If you look at the real estate on a chart, I mean, over the years, it's consistent. I mean, it does just like this. And you can almost draw 2 lines here. So it's not a shock when it does it. So I've been through 3. And this one is the most interesting though, because I have never seen it go to where it was so ridiculously absurd to bam, just like, wow, that's quick. I mean, we've heard about pumping the brakes, but we have never heard about locking them up to where, it leaves a tire screech about 100 feet. And that's exactly what happened. So we've been navigating it with, and it's something I actually mentioned a year or so ago on one of my own podcasts, that because the market had so many people in the last 2 years that could not get a house that absolutely should have gotten. We had people that made, I remember this guy he makes $225,000 a year, immaculate 800 credit score, no late, that's just good as you could possibly have, could not find the guy out. This guy could not utilize what's considered the American dream at $225,000. The American dream was built for someone who made $30,000 or $40,000 to be able to own a house, and this guy can't. Well, they're still out there, and there's tons of them. And what we've been doing is we've been making our guys go back to all of them. You need to go back to every single one of those people and tell them, hey, look, you remember how disappointed you were when you couldn't get that house, or you cried or whatever? Go, well, you can get back in there now and get it pretty close to what you probably were hoping for. Well, then the counter to that is, well, the interest rate is high. Y'all, the interest rate's not high. The interest rate's not high. Even at 10%, it's not high. That's considered a good interest rate. And for those of you who are so caught up with the people that say, well, I'm waiting until the interest goes down. You know what? That's what refinancing is for. The rates go up and they go down. You're wasting your time. We tell people all the time, there's been no doubt when you're talking about navigating this market, the amount of people, I at least 10 phone calls a week where I have to talk to a consumer. They're like, well, I'm waiting for the rates to go down. I'm like, well, you're going to be waiting for a long time. I go, because it doesn't look like it's doing that. And we've been wrong with that in the past, but there's not a financial expert on the face of this earth that knows that inflation cannot be combated with those rates not going up. They have to go up. And it's not a bad thing either.
Right.
It's not a bad thing. So we're trying to instill to the guys that go back and get the people who are out there. The one difference between this market in 2008 2008 was a crash because the inventory was plentiful and the market went down. Well, now we're in a market that the inventory is not plentiful, but it's not crashing either. And it's not going to crash. I don't even see how it's possible for this thing to crash in another 5 to 10 years. And we usually can't see that far ahead,
Right. It's
so that whole talk is ridiculous.
Yeah, I mean, it's still people's most valuable asset, right? They're
Always
forgetting.
will be.
I mean, look at the stock market. What's happening in the stock market? And Gary was saying last week that I guess an average increase in value for stocks over 9 years would be a 9% increase total for 9 years. Okay, so when you think about an average homeowner increase is 4% per year, right? Times that times 9, so it's a lot bigger return. And so yes, you'll have the ups and downs of any cycle, but real estate, you only lose money when you have to sell, right? And about the interest rate, it's like you date the interest rate and you marry the price, right? Because you think about long term, like you can't change the price once you bought it, right?
Yeah.
The interest rate, you just said it, you can refinance and things like that. If you need to buy a house, yeah, and it's going to be interesting to see how high they go. I think nobody
I don't
can
care what
predict
anybody
it,
says too. You can sit there and debate the interest rate all day long. There's no worse interest rate than renting because it's 100% interest. So, whatever
Amen.
you want to say about there's no reasonable common sense conversation I can have with anybody on why they don't buy a house versus waiting for something else. I'm just like, that's probably the one time that I'm disappointed in somebody. I'm like, your intelligence level cannot be that high if you believe that.
Yeah. And then with sellers, I feel like sellers are now, we're seeing quadrupling or 5 times the inventory and things like that. Part of that, I think, is because of they kind of miss the mark, or they're thinking, oh, but I want that price, or just not in touch with reality. How are you advising?
The window's closing. It's like this.
Exactly. So hurry up, let's get it on the market. And then you're seeing in Austin, 2,000 price reductions a week kind of thing. Right. So that makes me feel like that we're still navigating the market and trying to say, okay, are we flexible, flexing down? Are we holding? What are you advising your agents to talk about?
I love that.
Pricing?
I'm glad you asked me. I was about to tell you, if you weren't going to ask, I was going to say it, because I think it's worked successfully, at least for the most part. But I've had to tell people that are in that exact situation that you just described. I literally have to sit. I go, I want to make sure I understand. I go, you're upset that you're only going to clear 700K versus 900,000. And then I sit there and I stare at them for a minute because I want them to acknowledge that they're still making 700,000 and they're still making 300 or 400K more than they would have a year or two ago. So I'm like, I want to make sure I understand what it is that we have a problem with. And that's hard for a person on the other end to combat with, because the smart ass answer is, well, it was this a few months ago. I'm like, yeah, there's a lot of what ifs, but the real what if is the reality. And now you're still making a ton of money, which means the window has not closed. The window is still open. What I've been telling everybody, it's coming down, but it still has a really good crack where you can smell what's ever in the kitchen. So you still should be out there. Sellers should be happy right now. They're still getting a better amount. Buyers should be happy because the market's more balanced. This is actually a much better market than what we have been dealing with. Anybody who's done this for a long enough time should know where we're trending is the best market that we're probably going to ever have seen, probably for years to come, starting now.
Yeah. I love that. Just on the pricing, to piggyback on what you said, Gary was saying, if you go walk into a casino with $100 and you get up to $500 and then you lose 200, so you're at 300, did you win or lose money?
Yeah.
Are you ahead or behind? And it was interesting to see kind of the mindset in the room, right? Because some people, I lost, 200 or whatever. It's like, yeah, did you though? Like, did you though? You're still ahead.
Anytime your net increases when you leave somewhere, it's a good thing.
Absolutely. And so many homeowners around the country, really every city that you're in, it's unbelievable. They all have this kind of equity that they're sitting on. So it just comes back to motivation. And I think it comes back to the conversations that our agents are having with them. Don't you think?
Absolutely. The agent has to be convincing to the person that this is the most money you'll ever make in your life on this house, most likely, because we never set a guarantee. And we tell them, you could not be more fortunate. There are people for hundreds of years that have not been able to do what you're doing. And just like we were starting that part of the conversation with, the amount of return that you have here is far greater than anything you have in the stock market right now, by any means. So for us, this is as good as it ever gets for you. Everybody should be happy, high-fiving, loving life, because the American dream does still exist, that your investment is in your home. It's the best one you're ever going to have, and nothing's ever going to deter that.
I love that. All right, tell us what smoker broker means. Why that name?
So I'm on a professional barbecue team. We don't actively compete as much as we used to. We all work. However, hypocritically, we did just go to the World Championships last weekend, and that was great. Yeah. We finished in the middle of the pack, but we did play 17th in sausage over 700 teams, and that's pretty incredible.
Wow.
When a lot of the guys behind us are on reality TV shows. So
that's amazing.
Yeah, but we did it. We did it years ago. Well, I won't say why we really did, because we enjoyed our social stuff until we got into it. But over the years, it's become a charity option for us. We do a lot of work, especially down in the Galveston area. And it's something we truly enjoy. It's something that everybody loves to talk about. I get literally 50 or so calls a week on someone asking me, hey, how do you do this? Or how do you do that? And I give it to everybody I can, because it's just been something that works. I never thought that it's Smoker Broker itself would become a co-brand, but the logo, it was catchy by accident, and we ended up doing a national. We had a national radio show we were hosting, and then COVID came. We had to switch to podcast, and we actively still do that. And it's extremely.
What's that called?
It's Smoker Broker. If you went to Facebook, you go if you search Smoker Broker podcast on Facebook, it comes up. We're still adding all of the episodes. We're actually on like 154 or so over the last 3 years, and it's actually a great recruiting tool. It helps a lot of agents because it teaches stuff that it's just not in the books. And it literally probably can save somebody who can't get a hold of anybody. They probably can go there and get the answer they were looking for. So Smoker Broker became more of a combination. You've heard me joke about it before. I got the name where I was playing cards with a group of guys I've been playing with for years. And I came in one day and I sat at the end of the table, and someone said, they said, hey, Smoker, how's it going? And then someone at the other end said, I thought you were a broker. And then someone put the two together, and it's been like that for a long time. So
I love it so much. I love it so much, Robert, because when I first met you and I was researching, I'm like, what the heck is Smoker Broker? I'm like, he just must be smoking hot in real estate. And they're like, oh, no, there's a story. And I'm like, oh, okay, well, I love it. I love it. But so the Smoker Broker podcast, everything you're doing on that is really about educating, right? It's
all about educating. It's everything that you honestly, that you just don't learn formally or in the office. I took the back end of it and said, hey, look, this happened to me. This is what goes on. And then I have, other experts that are on there and say, well, look, yeah, that happened to me too. And it's just the most real you're going to get. And it's putting a live scenario in place for someone that might not have that yet. So it's very valuable for most agents, especially in the first 5 years, but even for agents that have been doing it for a while, at least it lets them keep up with their peers and what they're doing. And hey, am I doing it like that, or am I not doing it like that?
I love that. You're just leveling up the industry by putting out such great content out there.
Yeah.
Let me ask you this, my friend. How do you stay so positive all the time? Because I know you say the same to me. You have such this wonderful.
I try to keep up with you.
I love your energy, and you have this wonderful energy about you, and you're also super knowledgeable, and you're driven. You have all those things. You've been multiple times on stage with Gary. I mean, you're a big deal. How do you do it though? How do you stay so positive? Let's talk about that, because I think a lot of people could use that right now.
I just can't stand the negativity. I just can't take it more than anybody on the face of this earth. I'm not talking about the normal conversation and negativity. Everybody knows that. I mean, everybody knows that it's a toxin. It takes the air out of the room. I just can't stand it. I mean, and that's ironic for someone like me, because I'm the first one. I'll jump on somebody and let them have it. I think some people mistake my positivity for being nice. I'm like, I'm not nice. I can be outright ugly when I want to be, but in front of everybody else, it just takes it down. And for me to live my life like that, it's too hard. There's just too many other problems. If I tried to live with everything that I had to worry about, and believe me, I got worries. I'm no, we are all broke. We're all broken in one way or another.
Yeah.
Something is not right in our lives. Every one of us has it. Nobody's perfect. And for us to think that ours is worse or it's bad, someone else has the same problem. You've got them. I've got them. We can sit here and talk about our skeletons.
Yeah.
It's not, what's the point? It's not going to fix it.
No.
It's not going to change anything. Negativity only brings down the room. And for me, I'm just like, I just don't want it. And I'm known even in groups, like when we're talking our meetings, if I hear someone, I'm like, change it or just go ahead and walk out, because it's just not going to help anybody get anywhere. I still handle customer and consumer complaints when someone starts screaming, which is always my favorite, and like loud.
Yeah.
And I'm always like, nothing is going to improve with you yelling at me. I go, nothing. I go, my response will be the same whether you yell at me or whether you don't. So you should save your vocal cords. I go, you've made it clear that it's a problem. I've been customer service trained so I was running Kroger grocery stores when I was 17 years old. I was the punk kid with the tie on. I have not had less than 100 people reporting to me since then. I've learned how to deal with people for years. When you learn customer service in the beginning, the only thing you can be is positive, because the negativity that comes your way, you'll just swim in it the rest of your life. And I just refuse it. I cannot stand it. It's the worst interaction of my life when I'm dealing with someone negative. I try anybody in my circle, they're usually quickly removed if they have negativity to them. Just can't take it.
Yeah. So you're just really conscientious of who you let in your inner circle. Cause you can't help the angry customer or whatever, and you just don't take it in, right? You just don't take it in. You just de-escalate by your calmness, and you're hearing them. And you're taking care of business, right? But people just want to be heard, really. But you're teaching people how to treat you, which I love, right?
And you're right about this. No one gets into my circle unless they are that type of person, like they're positive. They know it too. The ones that are especially closest to me, they're not there unless, we put them there because we want them to be there, and they share the same type of lifestyle that we want, because there's no one on the face of this earth can argue with me that any type of negativity is going to help us out. It's not going to solve any problem that we have. I'm looking for solutions. I'm not looking for problems.
I love that. What do you think the team's on track to do this year for 20?
Yeah, we're on track. It's great. It's first time we're going to eclipse 200 million, and I'm thrilled with it. And look, I tell everybody a lot of times, and I'm not in any way ashamed of it. A lot of people look at my account and they're like, well, you should be like at 8 billion. I'm like, no. I go, majority of my people do 2 or 3 deals a year and they're part-time. 200 million for us is fantastic, and I'm surrounded even in this office. Well, I mean, so I have the pleasure of, having the Cannons with me. Well, the Cannons are like the 15th largest group in the entire world, and they have 30 people that do 500 million times more than I do with 150. It's not the head count, it's the fact that whatever we can do to generate that amount of sales. But for us, 200 million is something that's a big deal. There was a time where we were hoping that we could get to 50 million, so, and by the way, that's not possible without, and this is another ringing endorsement for K-Win, and even with what and I told you this a few months ago, I was so thrilled. It's probably what I felt was one of the greatest accomplishments we've had in the longest time, where our guys showed up on the chart in Austin. I'm like, don't tell me we're wasting time elsewhere. I go, it might not be the majority of our business, but it was business, and it contributed to them. And, we can grow this to where it is bigger. I think my biggest concern about me is I probably don't work as hard as I probably should, because we probably should be a lot bigger, but I'm just satisfied where I'm at. And it's probably the best shot somebody has at me saying, you are weak there. You should be bigger and you should try harder.
Well, now, Robert, you put it out to the universe just now. So, now you're going to be paying attention and you're going to be like, ooh, but I don't know. You say you should work harder. I don't know. I don't think I know a harder working person. So I think you're hard on yourself.
I get to where I probably work 80 hours a week, and I would say 10 of them felt like work to me. I've got interviews all day today after you, and I did not get up this morning thinking I had to work. I probably have a 10, 12-hour day today, and I don't think there's anything in the schedule. Well, I have to meet with Cannon later. That probably is bad. But outside of that, nothing is, it's not work to me.
Isn't that wonderful though? Isn't that that's one of the things we were talking about last week at again, this regional mega agent summit we did last week at International. And it was great because we had Gary Keller came in and we had Mark King and Jason Abrams, and Jason was talking about making it fun and looking at your workday as more fun, right? Because a lot of us, it's the labels we put on it are like, oh, lead gen or whatever. But like you said, you have meetings back to back all day, and all of that doesn't feel like work to you.
No, it's not. I mean, if you work, I guess if you work like I did the first part of my career and with heavy corporate, I guess that kind of it does take the air out of you, and it makes you appreciate this type of stuff, because the truth is, this is a great job day to day. Even the negative parts really are not that bad. I mean, I've got agents who call crying because they have a issue. I'm like, that ain't a crying one. I go, just do this and this and you'll be fine. Most of that stuff bounces off my skin and it doesn't bother me. It rarely is a bad day when it comes to real estate, really.
But it's a choice that you make every day. It's how you show up. You're making that decision.
Sure.
So there's a lot of people, as we wind up this hour, but there's a lot of people out there that are struggling right now and don't know how to pivot or how, like, okay, this is different, or the good news is the brand new people don't know any different, right? Like I love starting in 2006. I didn't know any better in Nevada, right? But any advice would you have for somebody that's kind of been doing things, they have their follow-up in place, they're great lead generators, they're real relationship based, but they're not getting the results that they want right now? Any advice for them?
Yeah, so I'm the black sheep in the GK mastermind. I'm probably one of the few that does, and for everybody listening, I'm not right here. I'm not a big fan of the cold calling. I never did that. The rest of them tell me I'm the idiot, and I am the black sheep because of it, and they're probably right. But I will tell you this, there is nothing that stops anybody from day to day. I refuse for anybody to tell me that they don't know what to do or they're lost. I'm like, nobody's lost. You can go right outside and start talking to somebody. And there are thousands of events that you can go to on a daily basis. It's your choice whether you do them or not. You can go to something as probably neutral as the Chamber of Commerce, where there's 30 other people just like you. You could go to your daughter's volleyball event tonight and have your name tag on and passed out. There are millions of things. You could go to whatever contest is happening this weekend, whatever they're doing, buy a bunch of that product, make it really expensive and raffle it. Anybody who sits there and tells me that they're struggling, I'm like, well, the struggling really should just be waiting on the income to come in, because if you're doing what you're supposed to be doing, common sense should dictate that there should always be an income stream down the road the entire time. If you're doing what you're doing, it's almost impossible for it not to happen. So I just refuse when someone tells me they're struggling. I'm like, well, I go, you're struggling waiting, right? I go, because you shouldn't be struggling on what you're supposed to be doing, because that can be anything you do on a daily basis if you do it right.
Right. And it's just a matter of time. And I think it's, for those people that are doing the right activities every single day, right? It's just, you just have to either talk to more people, or like you said, go to those networking groups you never go to because you were too busy the last year, right? Like just adding more conversations in front of more people. That's just the name of the game.
I personally believe a practicing agent should be at a networking event every day. I do. I mean, sue me or whatever. I mean, I don't know what you're doing if you didn't go out and try to meet people. And I'm not talking about you having to be outgoing. You can be as shy as you want. Go as shy as you want with your name badge on it. That's still going to be better than what your plans for today.
I mean, who doesn't want to talk about real estate?
All I know is even the most wealthy, I've been in front of senators before that would listen to me. They're all interested. If you know something about real estate, believe me, the most wealthy person in the world wants to hear what you have to say.
Yeah. Yeah. And you know what? So see how you have branding. If you're listening to the podcast, you don't see, but like I said, it says Smoker Broker on there. There's KW swag, like I have a friend that I brought a t-shirt from Mega Camp for that said, had one of the quotes on it, had Keller Williams on the back, and he wore it, and it literally like 2 or 3 people in that morning spoke to him about real estate.
Yeah. Well, like I said, mine was an accident, but there's nowhere that I don't go that someone doesn't ask me what it is. I mean, nowhere I go. And to me, that's pretty.
Yeah, that's amazing.
Never intended. It's pretty awesome.
But it's subliminal messaging. So wear the name tag, wear the t-shirt, wear the branded, like you have this logo on your.
Well, hell, mine's embroidered on everything, even underwear. So, I mean,
let's not go there.
Well,
no, hey, hey, but I love that, hey, that's very Victoria's Secret where, every layer matters, I love it because it's all subliminal messaging for you. I believe in my brand so much. Even my undergarments have it on it. I mean,
by the way, those are always gifts. I never bought those. Those are
okay. I was going to say, I was going to talk to your wife. Hey, Robert, what's the last thought you would like to leave with our listeners today about, the second half and, how why I like the second half for the name of the podcast is, right, you show up the first half, but the second half is where you win or lose the game, right? Any thoughts to our listeners today?
Yeah, you gotta embrace that. You have to embrace that we are very fortunate in Texas and anywhere in the country, but especially in Texas, because a lot of this podcast is heard in Texas, but there are other people too, but we have to embrace that we are in a very good market. I don't care what the negativity you hear about inflation, our rates. I don't see this market doing anything but being fantastic over the next 5 or so years. And that's a long time. I think you need to embrace it. think you need to start learning your trade, having more respect for it, getting every piece of knowledge that you can, and showing the general public that you understand it. Just look at the things we talked about today. Just the knowledge of the interest rate alone, how much somebody has to put down. The average person out there thinks they need to put 20% down to purchase a house. That is ridiculous. Most of them can do 3.5, and a lot of them can do 0. That's because we're supposed to be out there telling them what to do. Spread your education out there, tell them what you know, be interactive, go out there and talk to somebody. That's how you finish this thing off.
And have a mindset like Robert Meche, how he is just so positive and you know what? Yeah, never misunderstand your positivity for not being this very strong
being soft.
person.
You're right about that.
Yeah, no, because you have just this wonderful gift. I'm honored to be in business with you and to call you a friend, and I'm super proud to have you on the show. Thank you for all you do, and we'll see you on the next episode.
No, thank you for everything too.
Keep shining your light, my friend. Appreciate you.
Always.
Thank you to our listeners, and have a great rest of your appointments. Okay.
All right. See you.
Okay. Bye, guys. Thanks for listening.